hold on, get your popcorn ready, because this is going to be a bumpy road.
Right? And this is an important discussion, I believe. In fact, probably one of the most important discussions that we need to have as a body. I have gotten calls by the administration where they said the meetings were, let's say, dysfunctional. Okay, and a lot of it is because decorum in the meeting devolves into chaos. Where I'm going with this is, number one, I don't believe that the First Amendment gets superseded by anything. Okay, I've said that from day one. I believe that. I believe it to be able to be litigated, and I believe we will lose. I also would like to make a statement here that I believe our attorney, by coming out publicly and saying that he believes that some kind of decorum rule or Robert's rule or whatever that might be would quite possibly supersede the United States Constitution.
What's going on, everybody? Soliecker here, and this video comes from Jersey Watcher. I will leave links to the video and everything in the description below. Go over to him, leave him a sub, leave him a comment, and let him know the Armed Fisherman sent you. And just like I've been saying about this is like a pandemic that's going on across the United States. They are coming up with these decorum rules, and they're like, oh, Robert's rule, the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. They're like, Constitution goes to the side, and Robert's rules and whatever we decide the decorum rules are, that's the law of the land. And what I don't understand is where these attorneys, where some of these people are getting their information from. I swear, I think they're all going to some kind of conference, and they're all like, hey, you can do this, you can do this. And then they do exactly what this is going on. Because this is happening everywhere. Texas, Florida, New Mexico, New Jersey, Illinois. I mean, it's happening everywhere. And when are we the people going to start standing up?
Thank you. Am I recognized?
You're recognized.
Okay. Through the chair to Councilman Brescher. Councilman Brescher, if you could be so kind to request from the police department the standard operating procedures, because IOPA requested it. They're trying to charge me $4,000.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
For some reason, they feel the need to, there's things they need to redact in it, when police departments across the nation are releasing this as publicly accessible information. I don't think that's right. I think this should have already been information that's on their website. And yeah, I think that's a crazy, exorbitant amount of money, $4,000.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money. How about I give you 49 cents, you give me a light-skinned girl from Moscow?
Just to get their standard operating procedure. How can I know what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do unless I read it for myself? You understand? They're already breaking the Attorney General's directives all the time and his guidelines. I just want to see how much of the standard operating procedures they're breaking all the time. That's all.
So,
you can afterwards. You can.
okay.
It's still my time to speak.
Shut up, bitch!
I think the Edison Police Department is corrupt, but I think what's even more corrupt is the way you guys run this council. Not all the members of the council, but I just find it strange how, through the chair to Councilman Brescher, I just said a few words, choice words, on Deputy Chief Dudash, nothing out of the ordinary. Just a few piece of shit, whatever.
Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong.
It was going to end with that. I was going to move on to whatever the next is. But for whatever reason, every year, the council knows they're not supposed to interrupt the speaker when it's their time to speak. But they like to create havoc, make it seem like the speaker is out of order when he's not out of order. And yeah, I ended up dropping a few F-bombs, not for anything really that Dudash did, but if you want to keep interrupting me as I'm trying to make my point, I'm going to go 100, I'm going to use the law 100%. I'm going to use Rosenfeld versus New Jersey. I'm going to use my First Amendment. So please, if you don't want me to drop F-bombs, don't interrupt me when it's my time to speak.
Shut all the way the fuck up until you reach the top of Shut Fuck Mountain.
I think we're all grown adults and we can all understand that when it's my time to speak, I can't be interrupting the meeting. I can't be disrupting the meeting. The only person disrupting the meeting is the person breaking Robert's rules of order, trying to speak over me. Every time I always come to these meetings, I never speak when it's not my time to speak. How can I be disrupting the meeting? But people like Councilman Coyle, Nish Patel, they all know they're not supposed to do this, but they pretend like they don't know. They learn it every year. They learn it, they agree they're not supposed to do this, and then a new council president comes up and starts violating rights again. And I don't like that, I don't appreciate that. Councilman Patel, even though you're not as bad as Councilman Coyle was, you still violate my rights some of these times. I understand the mayor pressures you, and through the chair to Councilman Brescher, even when I go to do my rebuttals, I find it rather strange that you can hear him through hot mics ordering the lawyer to police my rebuttals.
Now I want you to pay attention to what he just said. They, at these council meetings, I guess in Edison, they actually get a chance to rebut anything that, whether it's a citizen or something, they get a rebuttal period, let's just say that. And you're about to see later on in this video when he goes to rebut. So I want you to remember this. Remember what he just said.
Like, they claim I never do a real rebuttal when I actually do a real rebuttal every time. It just goes to show their nefarious intentions. It's always caught on live TV. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to have people gaslight me anymore. You understand? So Deputy Chief Dudash knows what I started off saying wasn't anything out of the ordinary. That was just me being me. But for whatever reason, Councilman Patel, why did you want to stop me when I want to call someone a piece of shit or a scumbag? You're not allowed to do that. You know you're not allowed to do that. You wouldn't do it for other members of the public, but when it's me, you want to play stupid?
Boy, that escalated quickly.
I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that. I'm not being boisterous right now. I'm speaking in an educational context, and if you don't like what I'm saying, here you want to stop me from what I'm saying, yet there was a 9th grade poem given out in the Edison School District. Very graphic, child pornography, through the chair to Councilman Brescher. And of course, once again, Councilman Coyle is late to the meeting because he has no respect for the Edison people. It's time and time, it's a pattern with him.
Who is he?
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
Constantly late to the meetings. And you wanted to be council president, Councilman Coyle? Thank God we didn't make you council president. It would have been Margot who would have been the council president. But in any case, how much time do I have left?
36 seconds.
36 seconds. God bless America.
America! Fuck yeah! Come out again to save the motherfucking day, yeah!
And stop violating my rights. I know what you're doing. You're trying to gaslight me. Gaslighting is a form of abuse. Why are you abusing me during my First Amendment protected activity? It just speaks volumes to your own character. And even if you don't want to do it, even if someone's forcing you to do it, you're still an accessory and an abuser yourself.
And there's always at least one of these kind of people. You know, the ones that take the boot and go...
I, Diana Jaffe, 86 Laurel Hollow Court. I respectfully disagree with the last speaker, who has a right to say what he wishes. I think that the First Amendment does have limitations. You can't go screaming into a theater fire.
Well, no fucking shit.
And this forum here should be dignified. It should be respected. There should be no profanity. There's no reason to treat anybody up here with profanity. You people are here voluntarily. You work hard. You do everything you can for this town. Is it perfect? No. Do we disagree? Yes, on things. If I ran a classroom where children were allowed to say what they wanted when they wanted, there would be no dignity to education.
And I'm going to let my boy CJ Grisham, a good friend of mine out of Texas that is a lawyer, he's going to spit some stuff and listen to what he is saying about the First Amendment. And it's unfortunate that these council members, they're just dumb. They don't understand the First Amendment and they don't understand case law. But you could tell them till you're blue in the face, but they're just going to violate it anyway because they just don't care.
Arresting someone in retaliation for the exercise of free speech rights is sufficient to chill speech as an understatement. This is Beck v. City of Upland. Arguing, even if done loudly with a profane or offensive language will not, in and of itself, constitute disorderly conduct. That's Payne v. Pauley. Swear words do not provide probable cause for an arrest for disorderly conduct because the words, as a matter of law, are not fighting words. Johnson v. Campbell. I could go on, Mr. Mayor. You can't do anything about it. Let me tell you something. The law has long established that arresting an individual for publicly displaying vulgarities violates the First Amendment. That's the Cohen case, 1969. Indeed, the Supreme Court recently held that a public school violated the free speech rights of a cheerleader by suspending her when she said things like school, softball, cheer, everything. Then there was another, that's Mahoney Area School District, VBL. Your rules of decorum are unconstitutional and they're setting the city up, you individually, for liability.
No dignity to education. There would be no education. There are limits to what we should say in public forums, and profanity is certainly not one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jaffe. Any other rebuttals?
And she opened up the Pandora's box so he can re-say the same things, but it's my time now.
Council President, I just want to recognize we have a young child in the audience today.
You don't have to recognize anything. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to insinuate, Councilman Coyle?
No, I just
coming up here to curse?
as a courtesy.
What are you trying to insinuate? You didn't start my time yet, Marlena, right?
Point of order, guys.
As a courtesy, you can choose as you do.
All right.
I know what I can do.
All right. You have your floor. Who are you rebutting, and what are you rebutting?
There's no need for me to say who, but I'll tell you the statements that I'm rebutting. Wait, don't start. He's asked me a question. I'm not starting my thing, so I should be able to respond.
You're talking, so your time is starting.
All right. Well, then I'm not going to reply to you. I'm going to rebut the last speaker. Well, not the last speaker, the one before the last speaker. Absolute disgrace. Everyone can curse, that they don't have a problem with cursing, but as soon as I curse, it becomes a problem. Let's throw this guy out. I was falsely charged, three felony cases, and I went through the process through the chair to Councilman Brescher. Councilman Brescher, I went through that process.
Again, I'm still not getting the rebuttal.
I'm rebutting the last speaker's statement about cursing. So I had every right to curse when I did come and curse because I went through that process. I beat the case. It was proven what Deputy Chief Dudash said through the media was absolute lies. Okay? So when I came here and I cursed, that's how I felt about the situation, a lifelong resident that lost his right to post on social media for 2 years, that lost thousands of dollars, very demoralizing, dehumanizing, can't take care of your family when you're supposed to take care of your family. And no, absolute disgusting.
And what he's referring to right now is that he was with a kid catcher YouTube channel. Something happened, they got in a car, and then the police pressed charges on him for these charges. and then he went through the process, and then he ended up beating all those charges. That's what he's referring to. I will try to leave a link to that video so that he can give you more context, and that's why I want you to go to Jersey Watcher.
Point of order, and please stop the gentleman's time. I'm going to.
I'll educate you when I hear your point.
And I can also reference Rosenthal v. the Board of Education, in which case he made a statement against the entire Board of Education, not an individual. That is a separation. I believe the gentleman spoke about this during his initial time, in which case then this would not be a proper rebuttal. And to be fair amongst all the speakers here, if I called out the previous speaker on a similar item, I should make the same point of order here. It is just the point of order is not my determination.
I understand what a point of order is.
And it's a valid point of order. It's a valid request that if there's going to be a rebuttal, new topics, or not new topics, but new points that are in rebuttal to it need to be raised, as opposed to a reiteration of what you were already permitted to speak on. You're correct, Mr. Pointer. So he required to raise a new point rather than repeat what he's already said.
No, the last speaker made a statement. Now you're interpreting it as you see fit. I read the rules for rebuttal. I actually educated a lot of you guys on the rules for rebuttals. So I think it's very abusive that Councilman Pointer over here, he knows that I'm doing a legit rebuttal, but he wants to stop my time in order. That's abusive. I'm rebutting the last speaker's statement. I have every right.
Council President, point of order. He's just rambling. He's not making a point. If you're rebuttaling, what are you rebutting about? Be specific. We're here to listen.
The last people.
You can make your point.
The last speaker said that people shouldn't be cursing, and I'm saying we should be able to curse. It's our First Amendment right to curse. And for people to gaslight me like I had no right to curse or I did something wrong, absolutely disgusting. I earned my right to curse because I beat the case. You guys slandered me through the media. And if you want to make a big deal, I lost thousands of dollars.
And why he's saying he lost thousands of dollars, he was not able to post anything on any social media site. I'm guessing this is one of his forms of getting paid, and they stripped that from him when they arrested him.
So I can't come up here and
Speaker has 1 minute.
And curse. I can come up here and curse. Everyone else curses. The same people who don't want me to curse, Mr. Tarr, came up here and cursed today. So it just goes to show the gaslighting. But I'm gonna continue to rebut the last speaker. Actually, I'm gonna rebut another speaker.
Council President, he made his point.
I'm rebutting another
you disagree.
speaker. I'm now moving on, and he's interrupting me. Why is he interrupting me?
Okay.
I'm moving on, and he's interrupting me. So another speaker said that there was no purpose, that there was no purpose to removing the meetings. There is a purpose. It's done by design. Every time this Mayor Sam Joshi gets exposed, he removes the meeting and then gaslights me and says it's because I cursed or somebody cursed. Why, when other people curse, the meeting doesn't get removed? Why?
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this last part is probably the most important part, and I am not going to interrupt any of it. And Jersey Watcher, if you are watching this, don't hit me with any kind of copyright strike or any bullshit, please. The reason I'm not going to interrupt this is because it's very important to hear this entirely straight through. So please pay attention. Jersey Watcher, don't hit me. But if you have a problem with it, reach out to me, thearmedfisherman@gmail.com, and I'll work on doing a different edit. But I'm telling you, this part's so important.
Any more rebuttals? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Council President, can I
Before
just...
we,
okay.
let me close the motion. Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close.
May I have a second? All right, I have a motion by Council Vice President, second by Councilman Coyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Council Vice President?
Yes. Not to put you in a tough spot, Mr. Burns, but can we get some clarification legally? There's a lot of case law that's being cited, and can we get some clarification on what is and is not allowed in terms of free speech here, based on what these people have been saying?
Do you want me to address that now, or do you want me to put together something for the council that can actually lay out what the terms are, what Rosenthal says, what some of the more recent case law says? I can give you a brief summation of what legal's opinion is on what's permitted, what's not permitted.
I think that would be, I would actually like both in answer to your question. But for right now, some kind of brief synopsis would be helpful.
So, legal, the way that we've reviewed this is that this is a limited time, place, and manner restriction on a limited public forum. That while the council cannot sanction anyone for disagreeing with the content of their speech, that rules of decorum apply, that excessive vulgarity, that personal attacks that involve excessive vulgarity do violate those rules of decorum, and that the speaker, if they are in violation of those rules of decorum, would then forfeit the rest of their time. That is what was determined. That is the procedure that the council follows, so that if someone does in fact deliberately, intentionally, and maliciously violate the rules of decorum, their time will be forfeited. Their right to speak at this meeting would be forfeited, at which point they would be required to sit down. The content of the speech doesn't matter. They could be excessively vulgar and fully in support of a member of the council, and it would still be in violations of the rules of decorum and would result in the same penalty. That is the only penalty that the council has discussed imposing. That is the rules as they are applied to people when they come up. So what is excessively vulgar? That is a judgment call to be made by the chair.
Indeed, and it's very subjective. It's very subjective, and I think that's the disturbing part, and I think that's what this gentleman over here was trying to get across. In these rules, where can we find the written rules of decorum about this? So there's the case law, but then there are these rules of decorum on a more microcosm level. Where can we all see the written rules of decorum and how that's spelled out?
So there are rules of decorum included in the ordinance with respect to addressing the council and the behavior during council meetings. There are also more generally rules of decorum included in Robert's Rules of Order, which govern any instances that are not specifically addressed or accounted for by the ordinance itself. Those would be the reference guides that you would use to determine what the rules of decorum are. And then obviously there's case law on what is or is not permitted in a limited public forum.
Can you make that accessible to council members? And then, so the rules of decorum on the microcosm level as against First Amendment, when those two come into, when they converge, are you saying that the rules of decorum will take precedence?
In a limited public forum such as this, yes. The only requirement at a public meeting for the public to speak is that they be provided with an opportunity to speak. That is the only statutory requirement for how public meetings are to be held. The public meeting, the council meetings, they're to be held in order to conduct the business of council. It's the Open Public Meetings Act that requires that in addition to that, the public be given an opportunity to speak or to address. There are as many different variations on how those rules are implemented as there are municipalities in the state of New Jersey. There are public meetings where the time is limited to less than 5 minutes, where no council members are to address questions from the audience, where any questions that are posed are to be written down and addressed at a later council meeting to be determined at some later date. There are restrictions and permissible restrictions on the free speech portions of it across the board. If unfettered free speech were the rule of the day, then every member of the audience right now could be shouting up here to address the council however they want while they try to conduct business, and there wouldn't be a thing that could be done about it. However, if that were the case, you wouldn't be able to accomplish the purpose of the meeting, which is to conduct the business of the council. And if you notice, there has been the occasional use of curse words tonight during people's addressing of the council. That is maybe distasteful, but it doesn't necessarily violate the rules of decorum. The instance that we're all talking about, the instance that we appear to all have very strong views about, is an instance where I don't think there's, well, I won't say that. I'm not going to speak for anyone up here, but where there was a great deal of volatility, a great deal of exceedingly vulgar language being directed at a specific member of the administration and being done repeatedly.
Hey, no talking, please.
That's
please sit down.
An instance where
Council President, as a point of order, to courtesy to Councilwoman Harris, could we go into, this is such a deep dive, and I do appreciate the subject, but I think it just, for those who are listening, those who are waiting, and I'm thankful for those who had a chance to speak, chose not to curse. But I think this is it's a roller coaster. Thank you.
Can I just close by saying, yes, I am troubled by the subjectivity of all of this, and it kind of reminds me of George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV, and so I'm troubled by this, and I'm not sure how this gets litigated in the long run. So I'm left feeling unsettled. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Anybody else?
Just as a point,
Councilman Bishop.
I'd like the public to note that at 7:35, it's probably the earliest meeting, double meeting, that we have ever had, right? And this is an important discussion, I believe. In fact, probably one of the most important discussions that we need to have as a body, okay? And it's only because this has led to many, many meetings that I have gotten calls by the administration where they said the meetings were, let's say, dysfunctional, okay? And a lot of it is because decorum in the meeting devolves into chaos. I don't think that we should stop this discussion. I think Council Vice President should finish getting her answers. I have questions myself.
Okay, you can ask.
And I'd like to kind of get to this. So if Council Vice President would like to finish, and then I'd like to speak afterwards.
No, I'm ready to yield to you, Councilman Brescher.
All right. Where I'm going with this is, number one, I don't believe that the First Amendment gets superseded by anything. Okay, I said that from day one. I believe that. I believe it to be able to be litigated, and I believe we will lose. I also would like to make a statement here that I believe our attorney, by coming out publicly and saying that he believes that some kind of decorum rule or Roberts rule or whatever that might be would quite possibly supersede the United States Constitution, has now opened up this body to more chaos. So I believe that our attorney, through his words and his actions, are opening this body up to thousands of emails that we've received throughout the years about this type of event, and I just think that that's wrong. I believe the First Amendment, I believe all of our amendments are the basic principles, the founding principles, and I disagree with colleagues here. You know, when we talk about all things like guns or whatever it is, if it's in the Constitution, it's here. It's what we live for. It's what our men have died for, what my grandfather and uncles have went to war for. They went for all of that First Amendment stuff. And while it might be offensive, and I say I understand the word offensive, and it goes back to what my council vice president said. We opened up Pandora's box, and I said this before. My generation with George Carlin, we opened up that box, and now we're not happy because that box is getting pressed to a certain limit, And I don't think that once the box is opened, that you can try to close it without costing this municipality hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation and then payments for stifling the First Amendment. You know, and I've been like this for years on this. I myself don't run around, you know, yelling and cursing at people in the stores, but I recognize it as a right. And I don't find it even shocking in the day that we live today because of what we see on TV and what we see on the little reels. It's coming from our children, right? So we've progressed. I mean, some of my council colleagues are younger than me, right? So you didn't grow up with my, yes, a lot, but you didn't grow up with like my grandmother. And what would happen if I used like a little dirty word, not even one of the 7 dirty words, but one of them ones before it, how much soap I had to eat as a child. But we are no longer in that generation because we, unfortunately, opened up that Pandora's box. That would be it. Thank you, Council President.
I understand. And as for the cursing, I believe it is okay to curse. If you need to curse to express yourself, that is okay. I hope you don't, but you are allowed to curse, and that is fine. What is not allowed is if you are not following the decorum, which is what the legal was trying to say. If, let's say, I were to ask you to stop and you continue talking over me and yelling over me, I do have a right to stop you and have you. Please don't talk from the public or the portion. Thank you. At the end of the day, you are allowed to curse, you're allowed to speak your mind, you're allowed to be critical of anybody sitting here, you're allowed to be critical of, and you are allowed to say what you want to say. But what you are not allowed to do is not follow the Robert's rule of decorum, which is why you have a certain time limit as to what time you are allowed to speak. When you're recognized, you're not allowed to talk from the audience and disturb the person that is recognized. There are certain rules that we have to follow so that we can all be heard clearly, and that is all we ask. Simple as that. Moving on to...
All right. Lawyer conflict. This came from a meeting, I guess, that we were at a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I'd like to say that the mayor presented a budget last year, and in his budget, he was misleading in how we have the lowest tax increase, or, you know, whatever his statement was. It was misleading because it made it sound like this body was the person that did that. And it wasn't this body. It was the Board of Education, Edison, and the county that allowed that to happen. But what I want people to notice about that was that I allowed the mayor to give his presentation. And at the end, at a certain period, it is my turn to speak. And at that time, I spoke, and I said that. Well, he was, you know, in his presentation. And when we talk about decorum and things of that nature, that's how it should be handled, you know, in my mind. If somebody on the dais says something that's incorrect, right, when it's your turn to speak, you're able to do that, or you can rebut what's there. But at the meeting a couple weeks ago, I felt that our attorney was doing to me what our resident Christo was talking about, which was gaslighting, right? Which was, I was saying something that was not flattering, let's say, maybe to the mayor. So because of that, I was interrupted, which caused me, being gaslit, to allow the meeting to devolve into more chaos. So I'd like to know that we're not going to interrupt people. We're going to give people their opportunity to speak, okay? With that being said, I might as well then be honest and also say that I believe that there was a conflict. My council colleague told me that he spoke to our attorney, and the attorney said he was only trying to protect the mayor. When he sits here at this body, he is here for the council. He's not here to represent the mayor. So there is a conflict, because at times the council and the mayor can be in conflict. It was one of the reasons why a few years ago I proposed that we had a separate attorney that would fall legally underneath the attorney for law, which would be the same law firm, but that a separate attorney that was chosen by the council would be present. And that was legal as per our last law firm that we had, as long as it fell underneath the same lawyer. Like we have other lawyers that do labor negotiations, they do tax appeals. So we do hire other attorneys to do other things. When we get to talking about like protecting, I'm kind of offended when I see the lawyer and he wants to protect the mayor. I also don't believe so much that the attorney needs to protect elected council people. Okay, we're here, and if the public's upset, I think they have a right to express how upset they are and say whatever they do say. There is an exception, though, that I do have, and that does take up with our employees. Okay, and when our employees are attacked by members of the public, I think it's wrong because, and I'll tell you where I go with that. I believe that all of the employees here in the town are here and they're following the direction of the administration. And I know I've used the word administration and I've spoken to the BA and she took it as I was talking about her and her role. And I explained to her that the administration isn't her only. It is her, but it is ultimately the mayor who is ultimately the one responsible. So for me, for the resident to be upset at the employee, he shouldn't be upset with the employee. He should be upset with the head of that department, which would be the mayor himself. So I do believe that our attorney, while trying to protect the mayor by interrupting a council person, is wrong. I do believe the attorney should protect our employees. Our last attorney that we had that was here, Bill Northgrave, that was here, anybody that ever witnessed Bill in this council chambers would tell you that Bill would jump in front and take the abuse from the resident to protect the council members and the employees, and I commend him for that. Now, I do understand that these are two different men, and they do things differently, but I'm entirely disappointed in our attorney for all of these reasons. And I just wanted that to be on the record, and that would be a council president.
And like I said, you've got maybe one, maybe two that are trying to do the right things, but the people that didn't speak about any of this, those are the ones that I'm scared about for Jersey Watcher, because they do this in Florida. They're doing this all over the United States right now. And I'm picking up, like, if you know what's going on in your town and these same things are happening in your town, please reach out to me, thearmedfisherman@gmail.com, and send me a link of a video of your town doing the same decorum rules or whatever, because I would love to help expose their garbage in all their BS. So, don't forget, hit that like, share, and that subscribe button. There are going to be links in the description. Please go over to Jersey Watcher. I will leave the link to the video. I want you to help him out. He's already got, I think, like 35,000 subs. Help him get up to 50K. I think we can do that. If this video gets 30,000 views on it, and half of you just go over there and just hit that little subscribe button, show him some love, because I'm telling you, he's dealing with some stuff over there, and I'm shocked by it. I'm completely shocked. I'm not really shocked, but I'm shocked that he's dealing with it by himself. So I'm just trying to show him some love, just like everybody else has always shown me love. So, and that's the rest of this video. You know the deal. Hit like, share, and that subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And I'm out. Soliaker. Deuces.